We missed one earlier, which was R5N, as in no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
R5N, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, amending Miami Beach City Code, Chapter 38, entitled Elections, Section 38-3, regarding notice of resolution calling election and polling places, Section 38-4, clarifying applicability of code provisions governing installation of officers regarding special elections as well as general elections, Section 38-7, regarding initiative, referendum, recall petitions, confirming conditions for disqualification of petition signatures, requiring certain additional information on circulator statement, confirming elector who signs petitions prohibited from witnessing his or her signature on circulator statement, and creating Section 38-4, canvassing board, providing for repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date. This is a first reading.
Okay. Can we get Raul to give us an understanding of this whole thing? Commissioner Malikoff,
Yes.
this is yours.
Yes.
Okay.
And Commissioners, if you will, this is going to take me a few minutes to explain, so if you will bear with me. If you will turn to supplement number
By the way, the Commissioner Malikoff just said this is actually Raul's. She's
Yes,
just
this is
the sponsor.
Raul's.
Okay.
Raul, and, as you
How
know.
did you get to become the sponsor?
Well, yes, as you know, and maybe I want to propose an amendment to the city code in the future, but as you all know, in order for us to bring a city code amendment, we now need to have a commission sponsor. And periodically, the city clerk, Gene Olin, who has been our elections counsel for over 25 years, both in-house and now as a consultant, and the city attorney do review of the elections code as a matter of housekeeping or as a matter of updating. So this is really a result of something that Gene, Raphael, and I started working on in the summer, and Commissioner Malikoff was gracious enough to sponsor that. So what I would like to do is just take you piece by piece through the proposed amendments, a lot of which I consider cleanup amendments, but I know there are going to be questions both on and off the days. So let me start with the first change that we're proposing, which is in 38.3 of the election code on page 5 of your supplemental package. And this is a housekeeping matter. As you already know, in order for us to call a special election for a referendum, for example, we need to adopt a resolution calling for the election, and that resolution has to set forth the date and purpose of the election, the deadline for registration, the polling places, and any change of polling places. The primary change that we're making in this code section is that when we call our special elections, which is usually early in the summer, the county has not yet finalized its list of polling places. So what we have been doing previously is, because we have to include the polling places in the resolution, we have been including the county's, the last updated list from the county, which is the prior election year's list. So we are deleting the requirement that we attach the polling places as an exhibit to the resolution calling for the special election. We don't feel it's necessary. It's not an updated list. And further, pursuant to the election code, the city clerk is required to publish both on in a newspaper of general circulation, and we're also adding on the city's website the polling places for the election twice, once in the third week and once in the first week prior to the week in which the election is to be held. So that lets people know where the elections are going to be, and we're also going to post it on our city's website. So this is a purely cleanup item. It's not controversial. It's something that we just want to conform to actually current practice.
May I?
Sure.
Just for the record, the state requires that we publish any change on the third and the first week. So that's when the elections department has it ready. We don't have it ready before, so we're actually advertising stuff that may be wrong. So
that's how I understood this. Is you're asking to remove the requirement to publish something that's potentially incorrect,
correct,
and definitely redundant.
Yes,
correct. It is
on board.
Right. It may be subject to update because you're correct, Commissioner Alaman. The list that we use is the last updated list from the previous election year. The change in 38.4, which talks about canvass and acceptance of elections, I also consider a housekeeping matter. And what we are doing is we are removing the reference to canvassing of election returns in this code provision. And actually, Commissioner Rosen-Gonzalez asked a really great question in my briefings, because when she was reading through this, she said, well, you know, the city commission, you know, should not be able to change the county's, you know, the county's results following an election. And she's absolutely correct. The city of Miami Beach, or, you know, the canvassing entity for a city or county election is the county election supervisor. So to canvass an election means that you have tallied and that you have counted and you have tallied results. And the city does not do that. So once the county election supervisor has canvassed the results, the only ministerial duty that the city commission has is that it is required to accept those election results. It does not do independent canvassing of those results. So, Commissioner Rosen-Gonzalez, kudos on your question. You're absolutely correct. So we're taking the canvassing requirement out of this because it doesn't pertain to us. We have to accept the county's results.
Can't you leave it in and put both of them? Can't you leave that in?
Well, we're not canvassing at all. In other words, the
It's
county
gonna be-
does that.
Right.
I mean, this board right here doesn't canvass. You accept the results.
Why don't you just put to the county's canvas a final general election results?
Well,
Why was
because-
that in there in the first place if it wasn't?
Because this pertains to what the city is required to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the county code, you know, references the county supervisor elections as the canvassing authority. So I just want to make clear, and again, it's a cleanup item because this is what this has been our current practice. So I just think it makes good sense to do the housekeeping. Now, the next one I'm just going to ask, I know there's a lot of questions on, which is this is the section on initiative petitions for referendum or recall. And I want to tell you what this does. And I want to give you the background also. Currently, our city code, which was amended in 2013, requires that each person circulating a copy of a petitioner, that is, the circulator, shall attach to it a statement confirming that they, the circulator, have personally witnessed each person whose signature appears on the petition, personally signed the petition on each of the respective dates set forth therein. So last year we had 4 initiative petitions. And we've never had that many, and I certainly had never dealt with that many in my tenure here. I've only dealt with 2 before, but the question came up last year, and that's why I felt it was important to clarify this. And I also want to make an important point to the individuals that have sent me emails on this, that I am not changing any requirement that's not already existing in the city code currently under 38.7, but we are clarifying the requirement because there was a question last year as to whether a circulator, as to whether the person that signs the petition, who is the elector, can certify their own signature and sign the circulator statement saying that they witnessed their own signature. And at that time, in order to be as liberal as possible and in order to give the petitioners the benefit of the doubt, I made the independent call that they could. So we did not throw out any signatures, and I believe we only had one signature?
No. In other words, there were several petitions where they had one name as the elector.
Right, that had been sent, for example, in the mail. And then when it was sent in the mail, you were asked to sign it and then self-circulate it. So I opined that, you know, I thought the code was ambiguous as written, so I opined that you could, and we did not throw out any signatures on the prior initiative petitions that were self-certified. That being said, the petitions failed because of lack of, you know, they failed to obtain the number of signatures. This provision is already existing in the city code, but I have clarified it to expressly say that an elector who has signed a petition pursuant to this subsection cannot serve as a witness to his or her own signature in the circulator statement provided for in subsection B. So therefore, if you approve it as of the effective date of this ordinance, anybody with an initiative petition is on notice that this will apply prospectively to them. So it doesn't apply to signatures that are collected and self-certified before this date, but it will apply prospectively. And it makes clear what's already in the code and what the legislative intent of 38.7 was, that you cannot self-certify your signature.
Okay, hold on. We're all gonna ask questions. I got a question to start with. I'm a little confused. If I go out and I want to get a petition because I want to drain Tatum Waterway, okay? All right. Yeah, I know you do. I know. We'll do it together. But let's just say, and I'm going out and I have someone I want them to sign this petition, and they sign it, okay? I have to, me as the circulator, I have to also sign it saying that they signed it.
Yes, you have to sign it saying that you personally witnessed.
I have to.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
The petitioner
All right.
signed it.
Okay, so that person,
The elector signed it.
the person who signed it can't witness their own signature.
No.
Okay, all right. Then my second question is, because I know we talked about it, I want to make sure. What does the city of Miami do?
I've got a few examples because that was a good question. I want to point out, now, the state of Florida does not have this requirement. So the state of Florida doesn't have this requirement, but local governments can approve standards of their own as long as these standards are designed to ensure the integrity of the ballot, particularly to prevent fraud.
Right, but I want to know everybody else does.
Process.
I want to understand.
So the city of Miami requires that the circulator of every such paper sign a notarized affidavit.
They notarize it.
Notarized.
We're not saying notarize
Right,
it here.
saying that we're not saying that.
That's
saying
ridiculous.
that duly
Right.
sworn, the signatures were made in his or her presence and are the signatures of the persons whose name they purport to be.
Okay, so they notarized. We're not going to do that.
City of Coral Gables has the same requirement that the circulator has to sign a notarized statement saying that he personally witnessed it.
Okay.
Miami-Dade County also has the same requirement, and not only do they have that requirement, but they go farther to say that the circulator of the petition, in other words, the person collecting signatures, has to be a qualified elector of the county, which we do not have, nor do we have a notarization
One more
requirement.
question, and I'll turn it over to the dais. You don't mean like if I'm out there getting petitions, right? I don't have to like notarize. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm just curious, City of Miami. I wouldn't have to notarize every signature every time they sign it, right?
No.
You're saying at the end you have to
No.
like
At the end,
you have to go. Okay, here's my 3,000
Right.
signatures. I saw them all.
Right. You can collect 20 signatures in a petition and
All right,
just
you're
notarize
just
it
basically
and just
swearing an oath
notarize
that
it.
you got those signatures.
Right.
And that's it.
But there is an
Oh, I get it,
expense.
okay.
There is an expense to getting a notarized signature. Or getting a notary. But
Well, we're not saying we don't
wanna
do that.
We don't have that requirement.
and I called Miami yesterday
Yeah.
and asked the question, what happened if the circulator was also one of the voters on top? They would reject that signature.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's discuss it. Commissioner?
And again, these questions came up
Okay.
as
I
a
got it.
result of last summer's petition. And I want to stress, that's one of the reasons why we are saying that this apply prospectively, because I don't want to penalize anybody that collected signatures in reliance on our interpretation.
The
because
future.
Right.
Okay, lining us to the
Right.
Okay, Commissioner.
Okay. I have
You want more?
I have one more change. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what you're stating here then is that there's one signature by the person circulating them at the end saying that they've seen every person, right?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
what you could collect either a petition can have numerous signatures, or a petition can have one signature or two signatures. But what I'm saying is that the signature of the electors that signed the petition have to be witnessed by the circulator, and that cannot be the same person. That seems to be the legislative intent of our city code's amendment in 2013. So I am not imposing a new requirement here.
So I liked the idea of being able to collect signatures via mail, because activism is important and it's really hot and buggy out there. And I wouldn't worry about the verification of a signature to a resident of Miami Beach, because at the end of the day, all you're collecting signatures for is to put something on the ballot that people are going to vote yes or no for. So why would we want to restrict this kind of activism that we currently have? If anything, I would be relaxing our rules and bringing more items to people to get more input from people in terms of, how we should act, than rather restrict it. So I would like to be able to continue the way that we had this before. And if somebody wanted to send out and lick 7,000 stamps. Didn't somebody on Seinfeld die from get poisoning from licking too many stamps? And send out petition signatures and have them come in, then I think that we should accept them with open arms and not make it more difficult.
Well, what you're saying
it's really hot and buggy out there,
right.
Raul.
No,
it's really hard to get those signatures, and at the end of the day, the electorate is going to be able to vote if it's right or wrong. So.
I'm not arguing. What I'm just saying is that what you're proposing then would be an amendment to Chapter 38-7, because my amendment just clarifies the existing requirement. So the existing requirement definitively requires that an elector's signature be witnessed by someone other than the elector. So this would be a proposed amendment deleting that requirement. And if we're going to amend this to say that it's okay to witness your own signature, then we should. Then I think it would make sense just not to have a circulator statement, for that reason. But
Okay.
That would be an amendment to what's currently in the code, because I want to clarify that this was a result of questions that I had that came up following last summer's referendum. So I am not proposing anything new here that is not already existing in the code.
Wait, can I ask a question? Doesn't the county look at people's signatures, though, and verify that it is the elector's signature? Isn't there already a check on that?
There is, but what this guarantees when you have a circulator, and right now the only thing we require is a signature. We don't even know what that signature says at times. But what that at least holds the individual responsible to when they're explaining what a question is, that they're explaining it accurately. We get a lot of times phone calls in the office that says, I signed something, but what they told me that I was signing was something completely different. So what that's saying is that, I was the one who passed this petition, and we're asking to put a name so we can at least try to find that person if we start getting these complaints. And we get that often, that what is a final version is not what I was told. So that at least protects against that.
Okay. Question, this does not pertain to folks that are running for office?
It does not.
No,
So they can self-certify their own?
No, this does not apply to qualifying petitions. This is only
okay.
pertaining to initiative, referendum, or recall petitions.
Okay. And your clarification is way less stringent, it sounds like, than Miami-Dade County or Gables.
I think the intent of the 2013 ordinance imposing this requirement was, again, to ensure some kind of ballot integrity and to have some kind of integrity and reliability of the ballot initiative process. And I think that they said, well, listen, we don't want to be as strict as the county.
Right.
We don't want to be as strict as City of Miami or Coral Gables or other municipalities that require notarization. But we do want to have some requirement to prevent potential fraud. In particular.
Got it. Okay, Commissioner Alemán, please.
What do we, if Miami and Coral Gables are requiring notarization, what are we giving up by not doing that? Because I can appreciate preserving the ballot integrity, the integrity of the process for the ballot initiatives. And if someone is committing fraud and not explaining these initiatives properly in order to get people to sign something, and then it turns out that's, they signed something they didn't intend to. I think that's certainly worthy of protecting the community against that fraud.
Right.
But so if we don't require the notarization, what are we giving up? Why would Miami and Coral Gables put that requirement on?
Again, it's what I said before, which is you're trying to verify that the individual passing it out, who it is. Right now, what we're adding is saying, print your name and address. Everyone else is saying, and then after that, you go to a notary and you give your ID to make sure it's you. So that's a policy decision for this body. It's just that extra step, but that also is a costly step because a lot of notaries charge for that.
It's the extra
It's like a
step,
per page
and it's
fee or
the
something
cost.
like that.
And
So
I think
when you get
and I think the city of Miami Beach has always been traditionally liberal with regard to encouraging
But do we provide that notary service downstairs for free, or do we charge for it?
we've never been asked, because obviously we provide in the clerk's office, if you are doing city business, we would do it for free. But again, we would be notarizing thousands of pages at a time for a petition. So it's, again, policy call.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Commissioner.
Thank you. Just briefly, we're talking about Coral Gables, we're talking about City of Miami. My understanding is that the state rules are more liberal than what we're talking about. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So the state rules, so say, the Amendment 2, which passed in November, that ballot initiative, what's required there's no witness required, correct?
That's correct.
And the only certification is if there are paid signature collectors or canvassers that they have to provide some sort of certification. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And that's it?
Yes.
So why are we making it harder than the state law?
Because the Florida case law has empowered local governments with the ability to adopt not stricter, but
Stricter
requirements, as long as those requirements are adopted to ensure the integrity of the ballot process.
Okay, but I guess my question is, the rules that apply to amend the Constitution of the state of Florida are more lax than the rules that we're talking about. We are creating more, we're moving the goal line further than one would have to go to amend or at least get on the ballot an amendment to our own state constitution. I don't agree with that. So
I think one of the reasons also that I read in, that's anecdotal, but that I read was obviously since the state of Florida is so vast and to collect signatures in the state, in the state of Florida is such a large undertaking that I think that's the state's determination for trying to facilitate the initiative process. We're a smaller city. You don't have to travel, hours to collect signatures. But the bottom line is, to answer your question, yes, the state does allow state self-certification.
So here's my concern. Unlike certain cities like Coral Gables that don't have as many apartment buildings as, say, Miami Beach, as somebody who amongst everybody up here knocked on doors when they ran for office to some degree. And, you can do that with the single-family homes, and you can go canvass and get signatures. You can hang out in a park all day if you want and try to get people who are registered to vote. But the ability to obtain signatures via the mail would probably be more relevant in a city like ours than it would be, say, in other cities. And I'm not using Miami as an example, or I'm just talking about us in particular, that I would say probably about half and half, single-family homes and condo dwellers and buildings that you can't get into. So I'm not going to vote for something that's going to make it more difficult for folks to obtain signatures and just call it as we're trying to prevent fraud, because I think that you can commit statewide fraud just as well as you can commit citywide fraud. So I don't agree with this. I think it moves the goalposts in the wrong direction, and I think we need to rethink it. Candidly, I think that the state rule should be applied. The state standard should be applied in the city. But that's me.
Thank you. Now, oral question for you. So in the past, since 2013, because I missed this one little point, have you been requiring the circulator to sign?
Honestly, we never had this question come up, but that's why the first time this question came up was last summer, And that's why when I made the call, and then in realizing as I did the research, and as I spoke to Gene, and the language of the code became clear because of the legislative intent, I didn't want to penalize.
Right, but the intent was they wanted someone.
Yes,
They just wanted the person who's going to just sign it and say you got that signature.
Clearly, that was the intent.
Okay.
But I did not want to penalize someone like Mr. Ciraldo,
right? So you let it go.
Who collected signatures that were self-certified. That's why I'm suggesting that this provision also have prospective application.
Why don't we,
but the intent of the 2013 amendment was clear. I'm not inventing something new here.
I got it. Question for you, Dan. You're out there collecting petitions. Is it that difficult for you at the end to sign your name and say I got these?
Yeah,
petitions?
no, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I just can have a minute. So it's not about being outside and sweaty, although, it's not that glamorous to collect signatures, in parks and stuff. It's really more about when you get the phone call from the senior up in North Beach that heard about the petition, would like to have a copy and would like to sign it. That's where it started becoming difficult, because I would ask Raul, how can someone send me their petition? And that's where the wording of the current ordinance it says here, each person circulating a copy of the petition shall attach to it a statement confirming that the circulator personally witnessed it. So if you printed it on your computer, are you the circulator?
I get it.
And so that's where I think the issue is. It's definitely not a problem to sign it if we're out there collecting, but we do need, like Commissioner Grieco said, to have a method where people could send it in, just like in the state of Florida. And maybe, like he suggested, if it's a paid petition circulator, they should sign it. But that would give the option then for any voter to send it in.
I hear what you're saying. Can we look at a way we interpret it the way it was originally written, which is what you're saying is the circulator has to sign it when the person's in front of you. But if you want to mail it, you can mail it, but it's just got to be notarized.
Well,
is that wrong? Or someone has to witness it?
I would have concerns. Creating a double standard, for somebody, for somebody that's circulating a petition door to door or on the street versus someone that's mailing it. So I think the call has to be if we allow self-certification, then there's no point in having. There's no point in having a circulator
You can't do mail. If you mail it, you can do a mail, but it's got to be notarized or something like that. Just the mail.
Again, you're creating a double standard.
Okay.
But what about a compromise, Raul, to add that there's a circulator statement if you're a paid circulator? Because I do think the state has a point. They want to know people that are paid to collect signatures should certify. And then that would allow that petition, if somebody prints it and wants to mail it in, they won't sign the part that says, if you're a paid circulator, sign this. Which I think is what Commissioner Grieco was recommending, too.
All right. Let's let Commissioner Steinberg has something to say.
It's
an option.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Actually, I was going to allude to that as well. And for me, I think everybody knows philosophically, the less roadblocks we have for anybody to be able to put anything on a petition to petition their government, I don't want to stand in front of. I think it's part of the process now. The state is looking right now towards a push to actually have you vote online for any actual election. There's a push right now to try to create that internet world, that technological world to come together, and that's for a vote. I send in an absentee ballot. No one certifies my absentee ballot, and that goes to an actual vote, not someone just putting something on a. Yes, they do check the signature, but here I think they do as well. They have to check the signatures. There's a photocopy of it that has to go as a public record, and if someone sees that there's a false signature, and I think the fraud argument, while I understand, and Raul and I have discussed this at length yesterday, because it's an interesting philosophical, debate, and so for me, I think maybe that's an accurate statement, Daniel. If we took out circulator but said paid circulator, that changes it, and I think that makes it a little bit more amenable for me. But as it is, and while I understand the intent, I couldn't support that part of the section. The other amendments I understand, but for -7, that was not where I would feel comfortable. And then my other question to you, Raul, is if you find that, the clerk referenced, someone may be signing a petition under a false pretense, thinking it was something else. if the petitioner was actually someone who felt that was the reason, would that invalidate the signature anyway? No, it wouldn't, so it doesn't matter. So I'm trying to find a way that we can make it as less stringent as possible, because I think we're not talking about it becoming, when we all go into that ballot booth to vote,
Right.
and that's a sacred thing that we all do, and we encourage more and more people to partake in these elections.
Right. Well, again, the reason, and I just want to repeat, the reason that you should do this, the reason that you have these requirements, and that the courts have upheld these requirements so long as they are to preserve ballot integrity and to prevent fraud. So you have to have that first and foremost in your mind. And I just wanted to point out that while we are not as lenient as the state, and the state still doesn't have online petitioner signatures, by the way.
No, they don't.
We are a lot less stricter than most of the cities in this county.
Okay, Commissioner Alemán?
I can definitely conceive of
And
circumstances.
I'm not advocating either way. It's just, this is policy.
I can definitely conceive of circumstances why you would want to mail it. I mean, the condos for sure, disabilities. Is there a way to structure the form so that the circulator, when they mail it, are indicating, I'm the circulator, and then mail it, so that it doesn't have to be notarized, it doesn't have to come back, but you could still do the trace. Is that possible?
Because what's the requirement is that they witness it, so you either take it off completely or change.
Well, they're kind of witnessing it in advance, right? Because they're the person that's mailing it.
Well, they can't witness it in advance. Because you're saying, I witnessed this individual sign.
But okay, then I don't understand, because the justification I heard was, we want to, if we suspect there might be fraud and we're trying to follow that trail, we're trying to find the person who submitted it, the person who says that they were the witness. We're trying to find them. It would help you with that, because I'm providing the information up front that I am the person. I'm going to mail it to Mr. Ariola's home, and I put that. Then he gets it. If he doesn't sign it, it goes in the garbage. No harm, no foul. But if he does sign it, it came from me. Is that?
Well, let me say this: if there's a sentiment on the part of this commission to amend the requirements for initiative petitions, other than what they currently are, which require that the circulator witness the elector's signature, then, I can come back with an amendment to that particular section at a later date, because I'd like to think about it, and I'd also, I'd like to talk to Ralph, possibly call other, municipalities and consult with Gene as well.
We need more time on this.
Yeah.
There's one other change I want to go through.
Okay, can I?
Yeah, the canvassing board.
After we
Okay,
finish.
and we'll go there, Christian. We'll go there. I think today, this is my suggestion. You have cleanup stuff, and you are trying to clarify that you have to sign it,
right, well,
not notarize. And the question is going to be, as far as the mail, let's let Raul bring it back with the mail idea so we can bake it and understand it.
Right.
So we're not just playing off the. And we just have to decide: are you okay?
Right. Well, let me tell you, the initiative language to me is housekeeping too. So I guess the irony is nobody showed up in 2013 to oppose this. But, maybe citizens are much more aware now, because I got like a million emails like, what are you trying to do? And I'm like, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to, I'm a stickler for language, and I like to have things clear.
Okay.
So let me go, if, we can adopt this ordinance and bring back that for amendment, but let me go through, I have one more thing to go through, which is the canvassing board requirement.
Okay.
Can I just, before you go there, and then I could sit down if it's okay,
Yeah.
about that, you said you're just clarifying it, but there's a new section C that specifically states 38-7C that an elector who has signed a petition shall not serve as a witness to his or her own signature
Right.
in the circulator statement.
And that's the clarification.
It's a clarification, but it also essentially can disqualify
That's right.
It's
That's
more,
right.
so
That's
it's
right.
not quite a clarification.
That's right. But that's the exact
Yeah, you're talking about one
clarification
signature,
because
so someone else
It's a
certifies
new
your
restriction.
signature.
that is
So-
the legislative intent of this code
Right.
provision. And I gave you that opinion, and that's why I'm making a prospective application, because I'm really giving you the benefit of the doubt and allowing you to rely on my opinion. So, but
Right,
going
and-
forward, that is the existing requirement in the code. So I'm not creating anything new. I just wanted you to be okay with regard to the signatures that you created based
Yeah.
upon my opinion.
But you've also just stated here that it is a little bit confusing and that you're here to clarify. So there's that record,
but that's
and
the
we don't have
exact
to get into
clarification.
that.
So
but-
now you're on notice until we amend it.
Well, I think it's up to the commission to decide if
Okay, Dan,
we're really
we're gonna
changing
let us
the
finish it off.
policy.
No,
Okay,
you're,
hold
and you're
on.
on notice right
And we'll
now.
be back next month maybe with the
Okay.
ACLU. Thank
Good,
you.
Good. All right. All right. So hold on, Kristen. Just wait. Is there one? Do you want to continue,
I haven't-
or
I
are we
haven't
all
been able to-
clarified?
Huh?
What?
Ricky hasn't spoken.
Yeah, listen,
Sure.
I worry about, voter fraud and abuse, especially in Dade County where there's a long legacy of this. And so I want to balance our residents' interests and rights to bring forward petitions that they think are important to be voted on versus what has been a long history of voter fraud and abuse in our county. The other thing that I'm mindful of is just this past November, we had a ballot item which was done at the urging of the ethics board of the county that was a request of us to have, cleanup language, which was endorsed by the Miami Herald, and it was at the urging of the
Yes.
ethics board, and it was shot down overwhelmingly by Miami Beach residents, which
Right.
makes no sense.
Right.
And so I'm very careful about how many ballot initiatives appear on the ballot to be voted on because, to the untrained eye, these things can be very, very tricky.
That's right.
And I'm worried about abusing and
Just vote
misleading
no. They don't know
voters
what
in the
they're voting
future.
on.
That's right.
Because you're going to have an unscrupulous developer out there who has the resources to get signatures to put something on the ballot that benefits them, and they've
That's right.
misled the people who signed. And so I worry about these kind of things.
That's right. And I just want to say one thing again, because, no good deed goes unpunished. And I want to just shut down alternative facts right now. I mean, this was done, this clarification was done, but, you were not penalized for this. So, and I think that's fair. So I resent any implication, to vilify or to criticize any clarification of an existing code provision.
Right.
So I want to make that clear on the record that this provision does need to be clarified.
Right. You're not
But
changing anything.
We gave those initiative petitions the benefit of the doubt, but this is how conspiracies continually get started
Right.
in the city of Miami Beach.
Oh, well.
And you can only take so much after a while
And
before
America.
it really gets to you.
America.
Yeah, well, I'm a pretty laid back guy.
Right.
But you can only take so much of just being accused
course.
and vilified for trying to do the right thing
You are
and
doing-
treating everybody equally.
are doing the right thing.
And I've said my piece for the day, but I don't get
I say
riled
the
up a
same
lot.
thing because my name has been used as well.
You are
So
being-
I don't
you're
appreciate
vilified
I
joy.
I do not appreciate it.
It's
Right. Well, yeah, and I also
It's ridiculous.
put,
Oh, it's
I also
I know,
put
it's
Commissioner
ridiculous.
Malakoff, who was just a sponsor to this in the line
Well-
of fire, and the emails she got were just appalling.
Well, listen, I
Appalling.
have never been vilified, so I don't know what that's like. I don't even know how that feels. I can't even imagine. But
I am
the
a-
manager quit. He left. He's sitting. He's so upset with everything.
I am
going
a
on.
laid back dude.
Okay. All right. So
but
let me.
even I have my
Listen,
breaking
before we go, I
point.
just want to stand. And Kristen, you can talk. I just wanted to say one thing. All we're doing is clarifying. We're going to vote to clarify the code.
Yes, sir.
And then as far as the mail idea, you're going to bring it back.
Yes,
and
sir.
everyone can stew it. You'll study it. We'll do the whole thing, and,
Yes, sir.
we'll go from there.
Who would
okay?
like to? Would
All right.
Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez? Do you want to sponsor it?
No.
Kristen,
I would
go ahead.
just like to say that any petition that is circulated has definitive language that has been vetted and re-vetted. Otherwise, somebody isn't going to even try to go out and get 7,500 signatures. So the idea that we are trying to deceive people, it's the same as if somebody received, like Mickey said, it's the same like if you receive a ballot in the mail. It's actually safer to send it out by mail because you can interpret it and nobody can unduly, negatively influence you. Do you understand? And they can by mail. All I'm saying is that we should make it as easy as possible. And from somebody who's collected thousands of signatures, I will tell you that the Miami-Dade County vetting process is incredibly stringent. I had 2,000 signatures that took me a really long time to gather. Maybe actually it was probably less than that. But a lot of them, maybe a lot less, like 30% of them were thrown out because the county matches the signatures. So at this point, we know that we're not sending out false names and getting fake signatures because the county's going to throw them out anyway. So I just wanted to add that. And I'd like to finish.
But you should come up with the mail and sponsor the mail thing and let him work with you on it and bring it back. Okay, because it's a whole process. You have to investigate it. You have to understand it. I mean, you have to really research this, right?
Yeah.
So bring the mail back.
Yeah.
The mail petition.
And this commission is entitled
No one's
to
going to
take
vote
a
on the mail
different
thing right now.
policy
It's too much
position in
information.
2013, and that's great.
Okay.
But do it. We have plenty of time.
And I would just like to add that I think we're a culture of activists, which is why you got so many emails. I had no idea that Joy had been exposed to a bunch of hate mails, but we've all had it too. It's part of being a public.
But it doesn't help when
figure.
the activists start attacking you.
Well, because I think
That doesn't help for doing something good.
There's a level
And I'm
of
not naming
skepticism.
anybody by name.
not-
But
I
that
did
doesn't
ask to
help.
meet. My name was used, and I would just like to say I asked to meet with Raul. He said we'll meet in public here at the dais. So this was the first time I was
Good.
able to do it.
Perfect.
I hope Commissioner Grieco and Gonzalez and Steinberg and maybe the others will leave out the changes in Section 38-7.
There's no changes. It's clarification.
There's no change.
There's
Well,
no
no, there are
changes.
changes. There are
Clarification.
legal changes
Right,
here.
but for some of us that have spent 25 years in public service, dedicating our life to public service and to the city of Miami Beach, it really does not help. It is not productive, and it is demeaning, and it is patronizing to be attacked
I agree with you.
for something that you are trying to do in the public good. And I get it that I get paid for it, but, I have spent my life dedicated to the city. And, I don't have anything but the best intentions. I can speak for any public employee here that being personally attacked and questioned and conspire to do something that would deprive the voters or the public of their rights is demeaning as a public service. And, we need to stand up and say that in this day and age more than ever.
I agree, and I don't know who did that, and whoever did that is bad. So
That was very
please
positive. I
don't
agree with you,
change
Raul.
the election
You're 100%.
standards
Raul's 100%
and
right.
don't oppress
Okay.
democracy.
So wait, Mayor, there's one more section that Raul never got to
What's
in
that?
-8, the
Now it's
canvassing board.
anticlimactic.
Canvassing board. Explain the canvassing
Because
board.
I had one issue I wanted to bring up, so maybe
Mayor,
he'll
the
address
last
it.
section is an amendment to the canvassing board requirements. And again, this stems from last year when the canvassing board is typically a county court judge appointed by the chief judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit of Miami-Dade County, the city clerk, and a member of the city commission, appointed by the city commission that's not actively participating in the election. In the event that the county court judge selected by the chief judge is unable to serve, then the county court judge appoints her replacement. In the event any other member of the canvassing board is unable to serve, that is the city clerk or the member of the city commission, then a qualified elector of this is appointed by the mayor, to serve as a substitute member. So last year, as you know, we had Mr. Granado was unable to serve on the canvassing board due to medical reasons. The county court judge got sick and was unable to serve. And, we had problems with the substitutes and with the alternates. So what the amendment that we're asking here is that the mayor be continue to be the appointing head.
Don't. Whoa. Why does it always go to me?
Don't worry, I have a change.
Well, good. I don't need to be the one. Put somebody. You could make it 3 people.
Well, it doesn't have to.
I appoint me and 2 people or something like that.
Well, this is the thing, Mayor. The problem is that, the reason we have the mayor appointing them, the alternate members and the substitute, is that these things happen fast and they happen in real time. So if, for example, you wanted to be the city commission to appoint the alternates and the substitute members, I have to call a meeting.
What about this guy? City manager.
We could do the city manager.
Yeah, and then I brought up, well, and then Raul and I, when we looked through this, we were speaking, and, the other problem with it is if there is a mayor seeking reelection, then they automatically, in a sense, shouldn't have a sway
worry
on
about
who
that
to
here.
appoint, and so I don't know if maybe the clerk's office could appoint.
Well, it could be Jimmy. As
Why
you
make it the
suggest.
city manager?
That's fine.
Well, you're the city.
You need to be impartial.
He's impartial.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying it needs to be an impartial person.
City manager. Isn't that a good idea, the city manager?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
No offense. It's not you personally, but you just don't know what kind of relationship you're going to have with the person that's running, and when
No. That's the exact.
This would be to appoint.
This
It's immaterial.
I know Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez had suggested the city commission, and it can be the city commission. That would just require.
No, Mickey's saying no. It's
No,
gonna take too
because
much
you know
time.
what? You have members of the commission who seek reelection as well, and it
You don't
will
want-
muddy
You don't want
it.
any political leaders. You want somebody. The manager can appoint
I
somebody.
thought the clerk, because he's the one who
Clerk's
handles
fine.
a
I
lot
don't
of
care. Clerk's fine.
reelections.
The clerk.
Doesn't make a
I would
difference.
go with the clerk.
Okay.
Sorry, Ralph.
Okay.
I'm very, very,
It's not, no.
very fine with the clerk. Sorry you lost that position, Jimmy.
I would gladly give.
I'll get over it. Did you? Did you enjoy it while you had it? I mean, it was. Okay.
Do I have a sponsor for my amendment?
Okay. Someone want to sponsor it?
Hold on. So,
We're changing it per what you said, Mickey, but it's going to be the clerk.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
As with the clerk.
right, and then do I have a sponsor for my initiative?
Yeah, I'll be happy to sponsor it and take
Okay.
the arrows and
All right,
and
you
the
wanna do-
alternative facts.
Oh, you want to do roll call?
Okay, so I'd like to understand exactly what we're passing in regards to Section 7, which is the one section I had an issue with. And by the way, in 2013, maybe that commission did want to go stricter. Maybe that was the intent. And Raul, I know you're just clarifying the language based on the intent of the prior commission, and I understand that. I have a different philosophical view on it.
And that's okay. That's okay, because this is a policy matter, and I'm I follow the policy directive of the commission, but I just didn't want to misstate something that
I
was already there.
understand.
So for 38.7, are you making any changes or leaving it as is and coming back at a future meeting?
This is the
What I
one.
would recommend for 38.7 is that we leave, that you not accept these changes.
Right.
Leave the code language as currently existing,
Right.
and that I bring
and then
back
we'll
an
bring
amendment.
it back.
I agree.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
So are we ready for that?
All right.
So this is as amended with accepting the changes on,
You want to do roll call? Yeah.
I have to, yes.
And we're not touching the mail. The mail's going to come back, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
The whole Section 7 will come back, and we can add mail in that
All right.
section.
Great.
The whole
Okay.
38.
Need a motion.
Ricky moved it. Is there a second?
Second.
So,
Okay. You want to do roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
point of clarification, just to state one more time, on Section 38-7,
No changes.
No changes as of this time to the original language.
38
They're bringing
dash-
that back separately.
It will currently read as in the code, Commissioner Grieco, which requires an elector signature to be witnessed by the circulator. That's the current requirement in the code since
Not changed.
2013.
The same language that has been there prior to anything underlined, it's just the
Mail
interpretation.
thing's going to come back.
so
It's going to come back.
So the code amendment that's pending, the added language or any changes to 38.7 is being removed from
Correct.
this code amendment?
Correct.
Sir.
Okay, so it's being moved without that?
Correct.
Yes,
And
sir.
then in the event, you
Okay.
have succession.
That's
I'm fine.
It goes all the
That's
way to
coming
the
back
clerk.
separately.
And then 38.8 would be the clerk as opposed to the mayor.
Correct.
Clerk. Okay.
Sorry, Ralph.
No problem.
Thank you very much for a great discussion. I appreciate the
Great.
policy direction.
Now let's do roll call.
Commissioner Ariola. Yes. Commissioner Grieco.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Malakoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Alaman.
Yes.
Mayor.
I don't know. Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
Motion passes. Second reading, public hearing is scheduled for March 1st.
Okay. Very good.
As amended.
As amended. Thank you.